Access to opportunity should never be on the basis of gender or race. It is imperative that we recognize that gender equality is essential for economic growth and the betterment of global societies. A large factor in the gender opportunity gap is gender inequality within digital technologies. The tech industry has historically centered innovation around white male experiences made by men for men. Despite leading the development of many areas in our modern time, it has traditionally been one of the worst industries for gender and racial equality. Recently, however, with the rise in funding and awareness of women in tech, it appears that technology itself can finally start dramatically lowering the barrier to entry and redefine the socioeconomic landscape beyond recognition. The use of technology now can and should lift up women and other underrepresented groups and put them in the forefront of economic and digital conversations. What are some of the problems creating a deeper divide in gender inequality? Women generally have fewer opportunities for economic participation than men, less access to basic and higher education, greater health and safety risks, and less political representation, according to the Peace Corps. Women in developing countries are less likely than men to hold an official ID, often because they lack birth certificates or other necessary documentation. 42% of women globally still lack basic access to banking services. Most of them don't even own a bank account. After conducting and synthesizing research on this topic, I identified that the core of these issues comes down to women lacking access to financial and physical autonomy. For the purpose of this research, I chose to focus on how might we use digital technologies to give women financial independence. When women thrive, the entire economy thrives. This is a women's issue, but it will ultimately positively impact the entire global economy. Women's financial independence is profitable for everyone. If men and women played an identical role in the labor market, as much as 28 trillion USD or 26% could be added to the global GDP in the next 2 years. It's important to first start with the problem and then discover the technologies that can be best used to solve this problem. In my research, I came across 4 very promising emerging technologies that I wanted to understand and explore further, specifically in the context of women's financial independence. These technologies are artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, and virtual reality. So, what is AI and how can it help women? Today, modern dictionaries give focus on AI being a subfield of computer science and how machines can imitate human intelligence, being human-like rather than becoming human. The English Oxford Dictionary gives this definition: the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks normally required by human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages. It is important that women are involved in the process of creating these intelligent machines because if white male-driven data is fed into these machines, the machines will only know white male experiences as the truth. This is a term that software engineers use, which is garbage in, garbage out. The machines and data structures that you build are only as good as the initial data that you feed it. So, if your information is biased based on gender, race, or class, then the machine will only learn and produce results that are biased in that way. Examples of the application of artificial intelligence include voice-activated assistants such as Siri and Alexa, the dynamic fares of Lyft and Uber, and Amazon's recommended for you products. Those also use AI to understand consumer behaviors and recommend products based on your previous search activity. What is blockchain and how can it help women? A blockchain is, in the simplest of terms, a time-stamped series of immutable records or data that is managed by a cluster of computers not owned by a single entity. That means that it's decentralized. Each of these blocks of data is secured and bound to each other using cryptographic principles, also known as a chain. The simplest reduction of what it is essentially a fancy and immutable database. The most compelling part of blockchain, however, is the fact that it has no central authority. No single entity owns the rights, data, information, or access to the blockchain. It is a democratized system where the information in it is open and accessible to everyone. This opens barriers for women globally because they have equal access to this information and technology the same way everybody else does. For example, if you have money on the blockchain, that money belongs to you. You do not need permission from a third party, like a bank, to access your own money. The blockchain is the back-end technology that can be used to support any transparent system. Again, it can be thought of as a fancy database ledger, so virtually anything that requires data can be backed by blockchain. The most notable examples of systems backed by blockchain are cryptocurrencies. Blockchain has become very popular in the finance industry because of the way that transactions and payments are made publicly, transparently, and it is virtually impossible to fake. That makes banking transactions more secure and money laundering or other illegal activities much more easily detected. What is IoT and how can it help women? IoT stands for Internet of Things. The concept of IoT means taking all of the things in the world and connecting them to the internet. When things are connected to the internet, those products can send or receive information. For example, your smartphone is smart because it is connected to the internet. You can listen to virtually any song in the entire world. That is not because your phone has stored every song, but because it can call to the internet and request that song. And then, once it has received that information, it can play that song that you just requested. This means that products don't have to have a lot of storage. This means that products don't need to have a lot of storage or massive computation power. However, it just needs to be connected to something that has a lot of storage or massive computation power, like the internet. This can be useful to women by leveraging access to smart connectivity. What is virtual reality and how can it help women? Virtual reality is the ability to experience a world that doesn't exist, that is created by computers, that allows you to experience and interact with the 3D world just by putting on a headset. It is a new immersive reality. VR technology can be used to create empathy with others. By literally removing people from their current interpretations of reality and context, and transporting them into a different reality, people will be able to experience and relate to an entirely new experience. This can be as simple as using VR to allow men to simulate the experience of not having financial independence. Or VR can be used to allow women the opportunity to experience a reality where they do have financial independence. Empathy being the key factor in those altered realities. Now, let's go back to the initial question of how might we use digital technologies to give women financial independence? Now that we have explored 4 promising emerging technologies in the context of women's financial independence, I see the most opportunity coming from the incorporation of blockchain technology. So, how might we use blockchain technology to give women financial independence? Let's explore blockchain further and why it is the best technology to solve this problem. As I mentioned before, blockchain is a decentralized distributed database of unchangeable digital records that can be accessed from anywhere by anyone. It offers users the ability to build and maintain immutable and secure records and allows users to directly transfer digital assets without the use of a third-party intermediary or other associated costs. These attributes of blockchain can be used to create and store verifiable digital identities for women in developing countries who do not have access to birth certificates or other forms of identification. Blockchain holds the ability to store personal records in a safe and cost-effective way. Blockchains also hold the ability to act as a banking service and can provide free banking transactions. Since the technology is based on peer-to-peer transactions, blockchain would allow payment and bank transfers to function without a third party. Likewise, there are no costs associated with opening a cryptocurrency wallet. removing a significant barrier to entry for many women who are less likely than their male counterparts to afford maintenance fees. With this information, I think that the industry and client that would most benefit from the solution is the United Nations. UN Women has included innovation as one of their drivers of change in its strategic plan for 2018 to 2021. And it is uniquely positioned to do so because it is the only UN department created during the 21st century. Being the only UN agency created in the 21st century, UN Women has prioritized innovation technology as one of the drivers of change, strategically leveraging innovation and partnership to accelerate progress towards gender equality and women's empowerment, said Yannick Lemaric, UN Women Deputy Executive Director, during the opening session. So, understanding this research, understanding the problems, the needs, and the pains, I propose that the app Vera partners with the UN to create a solution. The Vera app is an app that aims to empower women by giving them financial independence. This app gives women an immutable digital blockchain ID. It also gives them a blockchain-backed wallet so they can send and receive money and a blockchain bank account. This app is backed by Vera Coin, a cryptocurrency. In their wallet, they also have the ability to hold other cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, how will Vera give women financial independence? Women in developing countries are less likely than men to hold official IDs, often because they lack birth certificate or other necessary documentation. Blockchain's ability to store personal records in a cost-effective and safe way can provide women with digital IDs, which in turn could allow them to own land and bank accounts to take advantage of job opportunities in their formal economy. So, what does Vera look like and how does it work? First, you should launch the Vera app. Soon, you'll see the login screen with the message, "Welcome to Vera," a digital service offering personal identification, an encrypted wallet, and banking services. You have the option to log in, and for this demo, let's assume that you've already signed up and logged into Vera previously. Vera welcomes you back by retaining your secure information. This view is the hamburger menu on the app, where you see your name, a brief intro of who you are, and the other features that you have access to on the app, such as the wallet, Vera Marketplace, transaction history, Vera identification card, and more. Let's go to the wallet. You see your income in terms of Vera coins and dollars, your marketplace, and a few of your previous purchases and transactions. You also have the ability to spend and earn money. Let's spend. You're brought to a transfer screen where you get to choose someone from your contacts to send money to, and then pre-populated on the top, you have your recents. Let's send money to Shira. Tap on her avatar and select transfer. You want to send Shira 12.24 Bitcoin? Yeah, you do. Go ahead and send. You instantly get a confirmation screen congratulating you for your successful transaction. Let's go back to your wallet. I'm curious. I want to see my transaction history. Select View All. This takes you to a full transaction history screen, and you can see that your last transaction was to Shira for 12.24 Bitcoin. Way to go! How can you search for specific transactions? Click on the search icon on the top right of the screen. This takes you to a search filtering screen. Okay, let's go back to the main navigation. What does someone's blockchain-backed Vera ID look like? In your Vera identification card, you have all of your basic information like photo and name. And then you have your key ID, which is specific to each individual. You have a keybase.io link in the form of a QR code. Proof hash, transaction ID, signature, and subkey information. This is all of the information needed for a blockchain-backed identification card. Everything you need to make a verified and secured blockchain transaction and ID. And that's Vera. What are the ethical issues and trade-offs with this solution? For example, blockchain only works when there are multiple nodes that receive and hold information. These nodes need to be owned by different people and are used in a way as checks and balances. What happens when one person or organization owns multiple nodes? I spoke to an ethical designer who experienced a project like this. He was based out of San Francisco and his name is Tony Contreras. I spoke to Tony about blockchain and ethics and he gave me a client anecdote. He said He worked for a client who was working on a blockchain system for nonprofit donations. Users would essentially be able to donate to a nonprofit, and there would be an immutable ledger displaying where the money was going, and you could see a full transaction history of your initial donation. That sounds great, but the challenge was this blockchain was only monitored and owned by the client. So he put the information into the chain. However, there were no other nodes that were monitoring this information. This resulted in the client being able to claim the innovative use of blockchain while having full power to manipulate the inputs and change the findings. Blockchain only works when multiple different owners are tracking nodes and there is a system of consensus that is built within. In conclusion, how might we use blockchain technology to give women financial independence? As we explored, blockchain can be the back-end technology powering up the Vera app. The Vera app uses blockchain technology to give women decentralized and immutable forms of identification. Vera enables women to hold access to their own currency, make free and secure transactions, and have a wallet of their own. Once women have access to these basic means of identification and security, they can buy and sell their own land, become active members of their local and global economy, and that will lead women on the path towards financial independence. Yannick Lemerick, the UN Women Deputy Executive Director, said, "Digital technologies can provide unprecedented solutions to address the fundamental needs of marginalized groups and those at the bottom of the pyramid. Let's use technology to lift marginalized groups up and make them the center of this digital revolution."